I would think, man, like, is there anything else that I'm supposed to be doing? Like, is it bad that sometimes I don't feel, God's presence? What does that mean? And so I get really stuck there. And interestingly enough, God used a really dramatic experience for me to process through those doubts once and for all. So, and some of you might be familiar with the experience that I had. In spring 2017, I was coming to the end of my junior year at Stout. I decided to go on a spring break trip with crew down in Florida. We were on our long drive back, and we were road tripping back in minivans. And as we were on our way, we actually got into a really dramatic car accident. Our vehicle got T-boned at a blind intersection in Alabama. And for me, I have absolutely no memory of this accident whatsoever. I remember getting into the vehicle, and I remember waking up in the hospital. And when I woke up, I was really shocked to hear that I underwent 2 major surgeries. Over the following days, I learned the whole story. I had been airlifted across the state and then treated for a collapsed lung and other internal injuries. I was then put into a medically induced coma. The next day, the doctors discovered a tear in the lining of my aortic artery. As the situation was escalating, my mom and other friends asked everyone they knew to pray for me and the other girls that were in the accident. The other girls had varying degrees of serious injuries as well, but most of their situations weren't as touch and go as mine was, right at the beginning there. As this was happening, the doctor performed a risky surgery to repair that tear in my artery. Thankfully, it was successful. As I reflected on this crazy experience during the following weeks and months, God showed me how this event was actually a picture of the gospel. Based on my injuries, I should not have survived that accident. A cardiologist told me later that aortic tears are the number 1 most common cause of fatalities in car accidents. Yet, in the midst of all of that, hundreds of people were praying for me, pleading with God to heal me. God heard their prayers, and out of His love, He saved me and restored me to complete health. And he intervened at a point where I had absolutely no control over the situation. I was unconscious. I had no idea that this was happening. There's a verse in the Bible that says, "But because of His great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in our sins. It is by grace you've been saved." After the accident, I needed God to bring me back to life. In the same way, in my spiritual life, when I was dead in my sin and my selfishness, I needed God to make me alive, something I couldn't do on my own strength. Before this crazy event happened, I believe that I was in a relationship with Christ, but because of it, I was able to see God's love in such a deeper way. In Romans 8, God says that neither death nor life nor anything else in all creation can separate us from God's love. I never would have imagined that a car accident would be the way that I would experience God's love. But I think it really shows how intense God's love is. He can take these painful, dark, scary situations and use them to show me how deep His love is. And so, for you guys, if you're at a point of questioning your salvation or asking questions that you haven't asked before, and it's scary and you don't know what to believe, I just want you to know that I've been there and that God is not afraid of those spaces. And I just ask that, if you guys want to talk about this more, shoot me a message. This is something that I'm really passionate about because God absolutely has changed my life, and I'm so thankful that He did.